Good evening. Nice crowd, good to see everybody. First, before we start off, I'd like to give a shout out to Team Slidell. If you're a part of Team Slidell from the city government side, stand up. Whoever's from city government here, Johnny, Cindy, who else? Anybody else from staff? Okay. If you're a part of Team Slidell from the police department, stand up. If you're a part of Team Slidell from the fire department, stand up, guys. Thank you for being here. And last but certainly not least, if you're part of Team Slidell from Slidell Memorial Hospital, stand up. Stand up, good crowd. That's the 4 prongs of Team Slidell that takes care of our community on a daily basis. Thank you so much for each and every one of those team members and for those folks for being here tonight. Thank you for what you do for our community, keeping us safe, keeping us protected, and keeping us healthy. And I'll keep the other stuff flowing, don't worry about that. Oh yeah, we got a couple more up in the window up there. They're representing proudly. Thank you very much for being here tonight and letting us do this in the building. We're keeping them overtime a little bit tonight, so I don't know, Kim didn't give me a time frame. She said 5:30 to 6:30, but I'm unlimited here because I own the building. So
as much as you want.
Whenever you get ready to leave, get up and leave. If I'm still talking, I'll just ignore you and keep going. I got a lot to talk about. I got a good story to tell. But I'm gonna run through this, try to be relatively quickly, and then give you a chance to ask some questions. There's a lot of information here. Talking points that we're gonna discuss briefly will be sales tax revenue, where that money's coming up from, the revenue segments, the city trends, what's going on in our community, budget actions that we're taking through the COVID and our upcoming budget that we're preparing right now. City projects that we have in work, there's a lot of them. We're not going to address those in detail, but just to give you an idea of what we got going. Some initiatives that we're looking forward to in 21, 22, and then we'll take questions. So, sales tax revenues. It's been a good story throughout COVID, which none of us expected. We were expecting a downturn, a reduction in revenues, but after the initial 2 months that we were into COVID, March and April last year, the numbers have just started creeping up and up and up. And of course, Christmas and November, December numbers are generally good for Christmas. This year was no exception. It was greater than it usually is. So we're expecting at the end of this fiscal year, at the end of June, another budget surplus that we're going to be able to do more things with. When I say that, I mean more capital improvements, roads, parks, drainage, sewer, water, projects that we're trying to get done and we got some money for. Hopefully we'll have enough to complete some of those projects. Market segments. You've seen this before, hadn't changed. Hardware, lumber continues to be the drivers. Healthcare and groceries still, working really well. We are getting more internet sales tax than we've ever received before, which is a good thing. That means it's being collected and being passed back to us through the state, which is a slower process than going through our local sales tax collector. But I would have figured most people's honeydews would have run out with the first wave of Corona. Second wave of Corona would be new projects that people would be finishing up and completing. I don't know what's going on now. We're still buying lumber and building stuff. So that's a fantastic thing. That means there's a lot going on in our economy, even though people were supposed to be not working. And there is an unemployment factor that we're dealing with, but people are working from home, and we're seeing probably what's not just going to be a COVID-related situation. I expect this to continue. Quite a bit of people working from home, doing their business from remote situations, not necessarily at home. They may be on a vacation boat somewhere, still continue to do their job, which that's great if you can do it. That makes a concern for me with office space. Some of these office spaces, and thankfully, from this respect, we don't have a lot of office space in Slidell, but if we had a significant number or high level of Class A office space, I'd be real concerned about how that's going to evolve in the future, because I expect there'll be significant changes in the way people are doing business. State of the city. Testing and vaccination sites are continuing to be open in Heritage Park, or Ritchie Park, I'm sorry. The gym, most of our gyms in the city are open and active parks and what have you. Ritchie Park gym is still closed because every week, either the state contracted through Oxner, SMH, or the National Guard are in our gym doing COVID testing. And that I'm told will continue through the end of March. We have also seen a couple of weekends where they were doing vaccinations on Fridays in the parking lot. It was a drive-through situation. You didn't have to get out of your car. You drove through, signed up, went to the next station, they took your vitals, went to the next station, got you lined up to get your shot, went to the next station, got shot, and then you go sit in the parking lot for 15 minutes to make sure you don't pass out or have a reaction, and then you're on your way. So that's going to continue. I just got a text message from the parish GoSep director a minute ago and said that Oxner had vaccinated over 1,100 people today. Wow. Over in the Castine Center. So those big distributions of vaccine, I'm assuming, are starting to be more readily available, and when they do, I know Oxner's got their hotline. They called us and said that you can get vaccines. Currently, we've had several of our staff members that have called to get the vaccine. One called and got first shot the same day, but everybody seems to be that's been calling and been getting short window, 2 or 3 days they can get their first vaccine. And what I'm being told is you got the choice of either of the 3 vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson, the Merck, or the Pfizer. So those are good signs. And with that in mind, our numbers in our hospitals of COVID patients are, the number I saw, I don't remember if it was yesterday or today, was the lowest number I had seen in both hospitals combined with COVID in 3 or 4 months, and it was well below our high numbers of 70, 80 patients in both hospitals during a week 3 months ago. We're continuing to hold on parades. Of course, I guess if the Merchants Association had asked us to do the St. Patty's Parade, and hadn't decided to cancel that 3 or 4 months ago, we would have had to take a good hard look at it. Might have gotten us into trouble, but we would have absolutely taken a look. Our auditorium and our parks are open. We're booking events in the auditorium. The governor's mandate is 75% capacity. In a space like this, though, it's limited to 75 persons max now. And if it's an outdoor event, you can get pretty good numbers and still be within the guidelines of masking and social distancing. So we are permitting street fairs and block parties, if you will, around the community. I've had a little bit of pushback on that from a few members of the public saying we shouldn't do it, but I'm at the point with COVID where I want to get as much business and commerce going as absolutely possible, and it's time to continue your personal responsibility and your social responsibility. And if you don't think you should be in this crowd, then you shouldn't be there. Don't go. But there are a number of other folks that want to start taking part in these events and doing it responsibly with masks and staying distanced. we want to give the opportunity to them if it's available. So we're starting to permit those types of events. That's why I said if we were looking at St. Patty's Day parade now, I don't know if we would have canceled it at this point. Our sewer and water delinquencies have about leveled out. At one point, we had delinquencies on water bills of almost $2,000 per month. During the height of COVID, people just weren't able to pay the bills, or just weren't paying the bills because the feds said that you can't cut anybody off. And it was kind of funny in that at the point where the feds said, okay, everything's on, we had some people who come in and pay all 6 or 7 months that they hadn't paid all at one time. Had the money, I guess they were just holding on to it, make sure they didn't need it for something else. So that's been pretty good. We caught up. We're not as bad in delinquencies as we have been. Business activity is holding its own. We've got more businesses opening than are closing. Alex Carolla, Cultural Affairs, Cultural Arts Director, he and I discussed last week what our forward spring, summer, fall arts season, cultural season will look like, and I told him, go make plans. Go start looking at bands to book in the events. Do the plans for the White Linen Night, the movie nights that we do in the park in the summer. Start making plans for that, and as we get closer to those events or times for those events, if we have to cancel them, we'll make a call and we'll pull the plug on them. But the plan going forward is to start trying to do those types of activities with people taking care of themselves and us giving them an opportunity to do so. Keep Slidell Beautiful, Clean City campaign, we never let up on that. What we found was that we didn't have the service hours available to us that we were getting from people that needed to pick that up for misdemeanor offenses in the legal system. The judge wasn't putting that service hour activity over to us because they didn't want people to be exposed to COVID. We weren't getting any inmate support from our jail system for same reasons. Those inmates were locked down. They didn't want COVID going into those jails and starting an epidemic or a hot spot in those jails. So those guys were locked down tight and didn't come or go. So we didn't have any of that support. We continued with our small crews and we worked as best we could. And we picked up over how many tons of garbage? Okay, many tons of garbage throughout this. We continue to pick up. All right, State of the City budget actions taken. The fiscal year 21 supplemental budget was approved a couple of meetings back. In that budget, most of the deferred items that we had planned in the original budget for this year that we deferred when COVID hit, we were able to put back in with the supplemental budget and then add some items to it because we did have, we're already starting to see some surplus funding. We are maintaining our contingency funds in all of our city funds. Fund balances of 15 to 25% in contingency in case all of this magical money would somehow dwindle down and go away. We want to be ready for it. We are seeing a slight increase in overtime. Part of that's been due to some of the events storm events we've had this year that have caused our guys to have to work overtime when we didn't expect it to. We've been trying to manage that overtime budget and commitments from some of our agencies and our police department to try to reduce that budget in order to turn around and put some permanent people in place to maybe relieve that. So we're doing okay in that, but not where we would like to be. Our 21-22 budget is under development right now. We'll submit it to the council at the end of this month for review and approval, hopefully on the meeting at the end of June, which will start the budget year on 1st of July. We've established a compensation committee with the council and the administration to try to revise and continue to revamp our compensation plan to make it fair and equitable for all of our employees, but also to try to raise the guys up that are at that bottom level wage of $8.50, $8.55 an hour, I think is the least we pay, to try to get that up at a more, I'm not going to say living wage because I don't know that we can get there, but get it up to something that's a little bit more acceptable and get a little more money in their pockets and be fair across the board with the distribution of our revenues to our employees and make it fair for them to work with us, make it a career of choice, if you will, with benefits, salaries, and the training and growth opportunities that we have. Keep Slidell Beautiful has continued to do a great job this year. Christmas on front, you noticed all along the tracks there were lights, there were displays. All of that was generated through funds that Keep Slidell Beautiful and Trey Brownfield, Keep Slidell Beautiful Director, had generated, as well as some donation of the Keep Slidell Beautiful funds into the account to purchase these items. And we're really starting to light up Front Street for Christmas. We didn't get to do our Christmas parade this year. We anticipate doing that in December, 1st of December, end of November next year. It was a big event last year, and we want to keep that rolling. These lights hopefully will keep us in the Christmas spirit, continuing on into next year. We have a CPA with the State Department of Transportation and Development. They are contracted with a vendor to cut the 5 interchanges on the interstate with Slidell. Highway 11, North Shore, Gauze, Fremo, and Old Spanish Trail. They cut the grass and pick up debris and do a little bit of work at those interchanges 5 times a year. That's what the state pays for. That's the gateways to our community. And that's the first thing people see. So what we've done, we've partnered with the state and said, we'll go fund this. We want to get the grass cut. We want to get the debris picked up. We want to enhance this by weed eating and edging and dress those entryways up as best as possible. So we've added 12 cuttings a year, which in the summertime we'll get two cuttings a month, which will increase the litter pickup and the weed whacking and knocking the debris down. Get it to a point, we just started this recently, but we want to get that grass to a point where it's manageable. And instead of using a bush hog to cut it with, you can go in with a lawnmower, a zero turn, and cut it down so that when you come off that exit ramp, into the city, get on that exit ramp, you're going to see nice manicured grass. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take several months to get it like that, but that's what we're working towards. So that when people pull off the interstate, get gas, get a bite to eat, come in to visit, or if it's just our citizens, it'll be a much better appearance than we've been giving them based on what the state's been able to support. So we're partnering with the state to do that through Keep Slidell Beautiful. 22 tons of trash have been picked up from Slidell area streets and ditches to date in fiscal year 2021. 22 tons. That doesn't include what we picked up at those 5 gateways to the city. Those are strictly city streets, not necessarily city streets, but streets within the city limits, which a lot of our streets are state highways. But we picked up 22 tons of debris, trash. We did a successful tree giveaway this year. We had 500 trees that were distributed to people that came through and picked them up. Neighborhood Boulevard beautification projects are underway. We are looking at putting out an RFP to hire somebody to cut boulevards in neighborhoods where we're traditionally doing it, maybe be able to get to it every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. In the summertime, 2 to 3 weeks is what we're getting now, and it's knee high, and my knees aren't very high, but it gets pretty high. We're going to put an RFP out to get that grass cut more often, a little more user-friendly, and that way we can take the city crews that are doing that now and keep them focused on other areas of the city to try to keep everything manicured in a much better manner and utilize our funds as efficiently as we can. We have a partner with Tri-Parish Works, Don Shake's crew. They've committed to sending us over 10 workers, part-time workers, to help with the Keep Slidell Beautiful group, which will mean picking up trash, working flower beds, just general maintenance and upkeep of our community to keep it looking as sharp as we possibly can. And then the Clean City campaign with Earth Week is coming up April 19th through the 21st, or 24th. We got $60.5 million in infrastructure projects that are either completed or nearing completion. You can look at them right here. The Bayou Basin, Lee Street Basin, Delwood Basin, Bayou Patasat Basin, Snyder Basin, Bonfacott Basin, W14 Basin. These are all the main drainage basins around our community that, for the most part, were affected during Katrina. And this $60.5 million is some of the $110 million worth of FEMA monies that we had coming in when I came into office. We've continued to finish and wrap up those projects. What that does is it's all the new streets you see in town. About 60% of the roads have been resurfaced and repaired. The subsurface drainage below them was repaired also. That was done so that the streets won't erode and break down. You won't throw good money after bad, essentially. So all of these projects are either completed. You see the first three are complete, and the rest of them are going to be completed in the very near future, up through June of 21 would be the last one. The airport projects that are underway, the North Apron rehabilitation is, that's with FAA dollars, Federal Aviation Administration dollars, no city match on that. Power line right-of-way relocation, which is going to enable us to put another 1,000 feet of runway on in our airport, which in turn will mean that with the new fuel facility that we're putting in with item number 1, and that's with federal dollars that have been supplemented by the state. That will enable corporate jets that are going into Latin and South America, Central America, to come into Slidell Airport, fuel up, gas up, put provisions on, and take off and head from there. We're hoping to keep some of those planes that are corporate jets that are going into Lakefront Airport and taking off and heading to the Latin America. We're hoping that they'll start using our airport some. And we can give them better service, we can give them a better price on fuel, and we can enhance the value of our airport with the amount of traffic and fuel that we'll sell, which in turn will enable us to do more at that airport to make it a marketable resource and economic development tool for our city and our parish and the region as a whole. It's an underutilized asset right now, and we're working real hard to try to enhance that airport and enhance the usability and user-friendliness of that airport. As I said, the power line right away, that's being purchased. If the survey's been done, it's being purchased. Wetland mitigation is underway. And when that's completed, we'll be able to add that 1,000 feet of runway, and we'll have almost 7,000 feet of usable runway space. And I'm told that the bigger corporate jets, G5, G6 airplanes, will be able to get in and out of there and with a full tank of gas, which is huge. City park projects that we have in work are either complete. We've done Possum Hollow Park, walking path, the Duckshore Park. We have new tennis basketball courts down there. I don't know if you saw me on the front page of the paper a while back taking a jump shot. I want you to know Councilman Borchard did not block that shot. If you look at the picture real closely, my feet are off the ground about 3 inches. I was able to jump and get. Councilman Borchard just was on his toes. He couldn't get his whole body off the ground. So make note there. I still got game. John Slidell Park, the walking path around the park and back behind Tanglewood, the resurfacing has been completed. We got a nice smooth bike or roller skating or walking path throughout that park over there now. Nice and smooth, everything's done. The parking lots have been resurfaced. We're working on some new playground equipment in that park where the old wooden playground equipment had started to rot and deteriorate. We've taken it out because it was hazardous, and we're working on new and improved equipment in there, and with some of it being handicap accessible, equipment that families can go in with if they've got a child that has special needs of any type, will be able to play with their siblings on that playground side by side. Swing side by side, merry-go-round side by side, as well as some other tactile type instruments, if you will, xylophone where you can tap, and just different things to enhance the senses of children that are going into those parks and playing, which in turn means that there's going to be a better surface under those pieces of equipment than the wood chips that we have now, because you can't roll a wheelchair across that. So there'll be a rubber tartan surface, spongy, that you'll be able to roll across and get into those pieces of equipment. A lot of work going on there. Over here in Heritage Park, we are sandblasting and painting the amphitheater in the pavilion in anticipation of the cultural season coming up this spring, summer, and fall. We've also done a lot of work in there and have the accessible equipment installed, and they're working on the paths with the solid surfacing to be able to get the wheelchairs into that. That should be done in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be having a ribbon cutting for that playground. And we can thank my wife, Greg Cromer, who's here. She had a couple of events, Ugly Sweater Gala, things that some of you guys are familiar with, may have been to, that raised money to put those accessible pieces of equipment in that park, as well as John Slidell Park, and still raising more money to put additional pieces in there. So there's a lot of work going on in our parks. We will have new lights in John Slidell Park as soon as we get settled out with the contractors. There was a legal issue with one of the contractors that we've been fighting for over a year. That's what held up all the improvements in that park. We didn't want to go put in new surface streets and parking lots and have big equipment roll over it, but it's been going on so long. I said, just go do it, and we'll hold the contractor responsible for any damages that they do. Initiatives leaning forward. We're going to have a public-private partnership we're looking at for operation and maintenance of our sewage water, wastewater, and treatment system. That's under review. We've been reviewing this for over a year now, and we just got some new data in the past 2 weeks that may have thrown a monkey wrench in that program. But we're in doing the evaluation of that. We're hoping to save money long-term in our retirement systems and short-term in the overall maintenance and operation of those systems, and still provide the same level or greater level of service than what we're doing now. We have a CPA that we're working with DOTD for lighting improvements at the interstate interchanges, lighting improvements along some of the darker corridors in the city, as well as what's the service road over there?
Voters?
Lindbergh Drive, we're taking that over. They're going to put it in good shape. We're going to have that road. We've got studies and engineering design work going for roundabouts at Robert Road and Country Club, and at Pontchartrain Drive and Spartan Drive. And it looks like the Spartan Drive project is going to get off the ground first. Hopefully not this fall, but maybe the following fall. That's the closest one to getting up and running. We are in the process of developing a master plan for the city. We did not have a master plan when we came in. We had ideas, vision. We're taking ideas and vision from the community. We're the facilitator. You guys are the visionaries. People in our community that are invested, stakeholders that live here, work here, have businesses here. We've been taking the ideas from them and trying to push our community forward. And I think we're doing a fairly decent job, but without a plan, we're kind of like a boat without much of a rudder. So this master plan, and it's going to take about a year to put together, will give us the rudder we need to make sure that we're still maintaining a true course. And if it needs to vary a little bit, the master plan will be dynamic and a living document that we can vary, but we'll still have a guideline for keep moving this forward, moving the community forward. That's underway. We didn't have one of those when we got in, came into office, so we're going to have that. And hopefully we're going to have one that will be good enough that whenever we do leave office, the next administration will be able to pick it up and move it forward also. We are working with Louisiana Economic Development to renew our certification as a development-ready community. Working with St. Tammy Corporation, Chris Massengale and company. Where are you guys? Chris, back there. Elizabeth, she's back there. They're working with us, for us, with LED to get our certification recertified and renewed. We did this about 10 or 12 years ago. We needed to update our plan, we needed to update our information and get that renewed. We're doing that currently. If you've not taken the survey, we're gathering data. See Elizabeth, she's got a computer set up back there. Survey takes about 3 minutes, thereabouts. Please take a minute or two, share your thoughts with that, or either go to our website or the St. Tammy Court website and take that survey. We'd like to get a couple hundred entries into that with vision and thought about what the community should look like, what you want it to look like, how you want us to grow and move forward. I don't know if any of you remember the program that Sam Caruso did several years ago, I'm sure you do, Kim, called, what? Huh? Priorities Convention. Well, the Priorities Convention had a couple hundred people gathered up in one day in the auditorium at Salmon, and then went to classrooms and breakout rooms. We're doing something similar to that. We'd like to have several hundred data entries, data points to gather and put this together with, but we're not doing it all in one room and all at one time and in one day. It's going to take a bit of time to do that. So if you get a chance, please see Elizabeth or go to the website and complete the survey. It won't take but a couple of minutes. Tammy Trace Bike Trail, we are applying for a Rails to Trails grant, about $500,000. We have $600,000 that's in abeyance we're holding for Tammy Trails, the Tammy Trace bike path. The parish has about $1.2 million that we had agreed to spend to complete that trace into the city. And when we got to looking at the path that was taken, it just didn't make good sense to come down West Hall. Every 60 feet you crossed the driveway. The people that were backing out had to watch for bicycles. The bicyclists that are coming down the path had to watch for cars. So we stopped that. Said, let's go look at doing what was originally intended, bringing the trace on down the railroad tracks behind Strawberry and Carnation over here, the little industrial park, and bringing it back into Heritage Park. So where we're at with that is we're partnering with the parish. They're doing their due diligence to sign the CPA with us to do their portion so that we can get back on track on that, on getting that completed into the Heritage Park, coming down the tracks with 2 crossings that'll be on 190 one out by Tractor Supply and one in by the old Piccadilly building right there. And that's the hang up. There'll have to be surface crossings until we can get enough money to bore under and put a tunnel like they've done in Highway 59, the Coop Drive up there in Mandeville. If we can get the trace completed, then I'll talk to Kathy with the Senator Cassie's office about getting some money for some underground crossings. Just want to let you know it's coming at you, girl. I think this is the last chart. I'm trying to run through these quickly so to give you a chance to ask some questions. But here's what we're looking at: substantial investment in capital improvements in the city in 21-22, with well over 50 projects if you take each of the lift stations individually that we'll be working at. Sewer lift station rehab, pump station, safe house rehab, our street sewer treatment plant headworks being completely rebuilt, increase the capacity and bring it up to code. SCADA implementation for SCADA systems that will be able to remotely operate all of our lift stations. We'll get alarms if something would go down and go off. Our sewer treatment systems, our water systems. Let's see, street and roadway improvements, watershed program, internet. We're going to put Wi-Fi in all the city parks around town. So children that don't have access to Wi-Fi currently, if they've got a computer or these Chromebooks that the school's giving them, you can take them down to the park and you can get on the Wi-Fi without leaving your neighborhood. If you don't have Wi-Fi, sidewalk extensions, waterfront master plan, business campus improvements. That's over there at the old Textron building. That's our Slidell business campus now. Roundabouts we talked about, street roadway improvements, I-10 utility line crossing. That's a biggie. We're going to take and run a sewer water line down the east side of I-10. And all of that property that's vacant over there on the east side of I-10 between Fremont and Dawes will become a lot more valuable a lot quicker because they'll have access to city sewer water. And immediately you'll start to see significant amounts of development in there, I would hope and expect. But that's about a $2.12 million project that we're working, and that will do a couple of things. Not only open that up for commerce and development, but complete a loop in that water system so that we won't have any stagnant water. We won't have to flush those hydrants and those dead end lines as we do now, and people won't have to worry about parasitic water at the ends of those lines. We'll keep them flowing. These three city buildings across the street, building 1 and 2 in particular, the newer buildings, we have some significant water erosion issues with these buildings, probably from the point that they were first built and developed. We've got some settlement money on an insurance claim with that we are going to be doing some resurfacing, refinishing of the surface of the stucco walls and what have you, cleaning them up, dressing them up, putting them back together, repairing the cracks, and just overall dressing up the place in those two buildings in particular. Something that's really needed to be done. Whole lot of projects going on around town. Then last chart. I'm on my own, and that's good because this is looking forward. We're going to continue to maintain the high level of performance that you've been seeing and that you have expectations for. As our revenue continues to reflect our growth and progress and commitment to success within the community. The economic development continues to uptick. Small and large businesses are investing and looking at us and are interested in investing in our community. And most of our investments have been using federal and state dollars, primarily federal, with some state matches and some city capital matches where appropriate. We've got some money now, so we're able to draw down federal funds that require matches. Generally, those matches are anywhere from 10 to 25%. We've got money now that we can make those things happen. And that's something that when the old SELA program was around for flood control issues back in the late 90s and early 20s, and St. Bernard, or really, I guess, Orleans and Jefferson parishes got the lion's share of that money. Not much of it came to the North Shore. Big reason is because the folks in North Shore didn't have the matching funds to pull that money up there. Well, we got matching funds now, and I've been talking to the congressman. I've given them a brochure on our problems that we have with our drainage system. They know some of the issues, and there's some commitments from the Congress and our senators to start pushing more money into that old SEMA program that had not been funding it for the past 10 and 15 years. It's still out there, but there's some commitment to put some money in there. We're going to be at the front of the line to get some of that when it comes through. So that's about it from a 50,000 foot level at a real rapid pace. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I know that this was touted as a state of the city in discussion about economic development opportunities that are supposedly on the horizon. Let me just say that the Big A project that everybody has read about in the newspaper is something that I don't have any answers for. I can't talk about it. I had a project meeting with the folks that are developing the property at Fremont on Monday, and I was told that it's still under lock and key. So there's a big parcel of ground at Fremont that's being developed or going to be developed. There's been some permits pulled to clean it or clear it. I'm really excited about what's happening there, but I can't tell you what it is or who it is or how many jobs or what the costs are or anything like that. If you ask me a question you think I can answer, I'll tell you, I'll answer if I can, and I'll tell you if I can't. The gaming casino entertainment complex out at Lakeshore area, that's still evolving as we speak. It's all parish property. The city really doesn't have any impact on whether that goes or not, happens or not. I'll just say that the city stands ready to respond if that goes forward and there's a vote taken and it passes. The city stands ready to utilize all of our resources to grow our policing, to grow anything that we need to do to support and maintain our quality of life, even with them there. Or if it doesn't go through and it goes in another direction, the city stands ready to respond accordingly for that and work with whatever does go in there at some point. I know that the discussions about what will come out of that as far as an events center or a sports park, monies towards those things, the breakdown of the distribution of the profit sharing is what the entertainment folks call it, which would be a 5% share of their intake from gaming, and how that would break out amongst the parish and the city and fire and police and sheriff. You've seen some numbers with that, but that's still really truly under discussion. And I don't know that it'll look the same way that you may have seen some charts with it right now. It could look differently from that, but they're committed to 5% of their gaming take going back into the community as a profit share, is what they call it. As well as other items, the $30 million for some type of sports entertainment complex, $5 million for levee protection. There's just a number of things that are on the table there. So, questions, anybody? Yes, sir, right?
Anything new on the Northshore Mall?
Last discussions I had on the Northshore Mall with the folks that are in the know are that it's still on hold at the federal level. They're not doing anything yet. as far as moving those people that were in the National Finance Center to another facility. They have taken down the old building, 350 at issue. Are you still working out there? Okay. Well, the 350 is gone. It's been leveled and cleared out. All that asbestos has been abated. If they want to go back on that facility, they're going to have to build a new building. Now, the word I was told by a congressman was that there'll be a request for $100 million to build that new building on that NASA complex, and there's no stomach in the Congress to build a $100 million building for NASA. So, whether that happens or not, I don't know. We stand ready to work with whoever would want to move up this way. And there's a significant number of those employees that would like to be working up here. And would like to be working up here now, because the ones that are working on site are in pretty horrible conditions at issue. They'd like to be in a more permanent setting. And I've tried my best to offer that facility for 3, 5, 7, 10 years. If they build a new building in issue, you know the federal procurement cycle. We're looking at 8 years best, probably more like 10 to 12, to go through the funding, the development, the bidding, the construction, the testing, implementation. They'd be lucky to be in a new building in 10 years. So they need a place to go in the interim, and that building's still ready. Now, there is a new storage unit complex took up the Dillard building on the backside. I don't know if it's open yet, but it's permitted, and they were working on that. I thought it was supposed to open up in January, February time. I don't know if it has or not. The rest of the parcels in that building that you don't see occupied right now, there's been no change in that. And part of that problem is that developer bought that, or that financier, whatever, Morgan Corporation, bought that facility back in 1996 or something, paid $50-some million for it. It was completely full, it was hustling and bustling. They still think it's worth $50 million. I think the assessor thinks it's worth about $8 or $10 million. They've been offered 25 and turned it down. So we're looking at trying to do a couple of things to put some pressure on them to do something with it. And there's a couple of programs that we might be able to do with legislation or with state or local ordinances, and St. County Corporate is helping me with that to see if we can do something, put some pressure on them to do something with that building. But right now, this corporation is known to hold on to properties like that, and they've got deep pockets around Canada, and $25 million, $50 million, no biggie to them. I wish I could give you something impossible on that. I really do, but there's stuff. And at that price tag, if I could bring a distribution center or something that would want to go in that space, nobody's going to pay that kind of price for that property right now. It's not worth $25 million, $30 million from a commercial real estate perspective. Ken, am I telling the truth pretty much? So that's a tough nut to crack. And I saw some of the traffic about the development at Fremont. Somebody said that, oh great, here we go again, building another big building, and we got Northshore Square, and we got the old outlet mall that are standing vacant. Why don't they put them there? Well, by golly, if I had a choice, I'd put them there. But when somebody comes in and wants to invest $30 million in the community, and he's got a plan and knows where he wants to put it, I can't tell him what to do. I guess I could say, no, we're not permitting that. You have to go use this other building, and he can take his toys and go home and move to Mandeville or Covington or Biloxi or Gulfport. You know, I mean, when people want to develop properties like that and got that kind of money, you don't tell them no because we've got vacant properties that we want to fill. You keep trying to market those other vacant properties and put something in them as best you can. I know that doesn't make sense to some people because we do have some lighted properties, but I'd rather see the property put in Congress than any way we can. And you can't tell people where to spend their money. Any other questions? This is easy. I mean,
There's a lot of great information.
I went through a whole lot of stuff real quick. I will show you one thing that we just got in the mail yesterday that I'm sort of proud of. The FEMA. I'm not proud of much that FEMA does, but this is something we just got in the mail. City of Slidell successfully participates in the National Flood Insurance Program Community Rating System. We're giving this award. We've been participating in the CRS for a while, but last year and a half ago, they notified us that our rating system went from a 7 to a 9. And for those of you who understand that, you'll understand that you are getting a 15% discount on your national flood insurance at a rating of 7. And when it went to 9, we were getting a 5% discount. We lost 10 points, 10% discount. And I immediately took my team aside and said, what happened here? Why did this happen? We got to fix this. They went to work and they told us it'd take us a couple of years to get it back to 7. Well, just in one short year, we're back to an 8. So you're getting 10% discount instead of 5. You're not going to get 15, but we're working real hard. My challenge today was not to get to a 7. We were 7. Heck, we need to do better than 7. Let's get to 6 or 5. So my challenge for them is to get to a lower level, and you get about 5 percentage points for every level you achieve. So at 7 we'll be back to 15%, and at 6 would be at 20%. Our goal is to get make it as affordable as we can for the citizens that have to have that insurance to be able to keep commerce going and to buy and sell properties. Anything else? Nothing? Okay.
Greg, any comment on Highway 11 bridge and expectations for that?
I got a lot of comments on it, but I don't have any information on it. You know, the last we heard was April was the time frame for opening. Of course, we probably heard that April last year was the time frame. So, until you actually see something happen, they start lifting barricades. I don't know who. When I was in the legislature, I used to have those discussions, and you never could get a straight answer out of it. It's not much different these days. Because most of us are working from home and not in the office. But I do know that the folks out there that are leasing part of the shipyard property as a laydown yard have told the owner of the property that they're not going to be needing the property after May. So I think they're expecting to be wrapped up and completed right now. Yes, ma'am.
If I can get flyers in the mail on March 20th, a vote on March 20th having to do with funding of drainage or works. I don't know anything too much about that. Do you know about that? And do you think that we should support all of it?
That's a millage, that's a parish millage, church-wide millage. I think it's 1.8 mils, is that right? Anybody know? 1.8? It's not a big millage, but it's a millage that generates $4 million a year, I think it is, for, is that right, $3 million a year, to be used, It is, it's a renewal, it's not a new millage, it's a renewal, and it supports drainage systems that we have in place currently, and any expansion or repair maintenance systems. Yeah. What else? Anything from you guys? You want to talk about anything? Absolutely. That's what I was waiting for. Is you want to mention that? Yeah. You want to say a few words? Whoever wants to step up, this is your opportunity. You asked about millage. You asked about tax vote. Here's one for you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Manager. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm the CEO at Slidell Mayor Hospital, and we do talking about the millage and voting. We do have on the April 24th ballot coming up a vote for a renewal of property tax. So you guys actually pay 7 mills. If you live in wards 6, 7, 8, and 9, you currently pay 7 mills. And so the proposal and the proposition on the ballot actually is to reduce that mills to 6.75. So it's not a new mills, it's actually reducing a new millage, it's actually reducing what you guys currently pay in those wards. And with that, if that passes on April 24th, we would actually be able to go up for about a $23 million bond. We have a $36 million project that we would like to propose to you guys. It's actually a 3-story building. For those of you guys who've seen it, we're going to be at, we've done this presentation many a times. We have full-fledged, we have some public Zoom meetings on the Facebook page. So please go out to the Slidell Memorial Hospital Facebook page. If you're interested in joining the Zoom, you can see what the project looks like. It's actually a 3-story building. First floor, it's about 62,000 square feet in total. The hospital would actually put up the remainder, about $13 or $14 million. And the bond would pay for about $23 million, a total of $36 million. And what that would give you guys and continue to support the community is we would actually build the top story would be a full-fledged negative pressure room floor. So for those of you guys who have been around through COVID, that actually pumps the air out and keeps patients and staff safe in the hospital. We had to bring in portable units. We actually ran out of those rooms during the COVID crisis as the census spiked. So in addition, there's we would replace all the ORs, so the operating rooms, it's 7 ORs currently, not in addition to, but in replacement of. The current ORs are 400 to 500 square feet and really need to be bigger in order to continue to do the great things that we're doing here to keep care local. In addition, we would build a comprehensive breast cancer center services. So be on the lookout, lots of information on the SMH website. Go out and vote April 24th. It would actually be a reduction in what you guys currently pay today. What that would do is it is going to increase from right now the current 7 mills. So if it does not go through, the bonds would stay at the 7 mills. Those bonds would be paid off in 2036. If this passes, this would be a 20-year bond, and it would go out to 2041 at a lower rate. So again, we probably are scheduled now for about 42 more community talks. So we'll be all out in the community. We've done about 17 of them already. We have 42 more. We'd love to talk to you guys in any individual group via Zoom. We've got public meetings. Anything that I missed, guys? Lots of great information. Our number one goal with this project is to keep care local and to keep our community safe. And that will allow us to do that if you guys are able to get out and vote on that day. Yes.
And you guys are actually scheduled for our April meeting where you're going to have more time to give your whole presentation.
Right. We have a PowerPoint slide. This was impromptu, so thank you, Mayor Cromer, for supporting us and allowing me just a minute to talk. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sandy. And I'll just add, if you look at the history of the bonds at the hospital, they've been very good stewards of taxpayer money. With some of the refinancing packages they've done, with the current bonds, they refinanced 2 years ago. Yeah, and probably saved $10 million or so over the life of these bonds. So, that's an agency that been very good stewards of our tax dollars. One last chance, anybody, no other questions? Don?
I just want to thank you for the transparency and your willingness to go through that laundry list of incredible workload. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Slidell administration, those guys, you know, Mike, John, they're